Alrighty, so this is a shiny new map. I don't know what to expect. It's another game between Xeminus and Icredd, our past champions. Xeminus is going to be playing random. Icredd has switched to Zerg. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So the last game was interesting. I enjoyed it. We'll see if Icredd comes with some different strats this time. It's always a bit weird when you're playing someone that isn't like just a random on ladder, isn't just a complete kind of stranger, if you like. I know these, Xeminus and Icredd, they don't know each other, but nevertheless, there's a connection there. And of course they know I'm watching too. But it's always a bit different from just playing a random on ladder. You always feel slightly more pressure, I guess. And sometimes that like just tenses you up and you play a bit weird and you don't quite you start missing stuff that you never miss, and you don't necessarily feel comfortable to just break out some build. I don't know, talking for me personally anyway, when I play people I know, I always play slightly overcautious, always end up like doing weird stuff that I would never normally do on ladder. It's just a bit weird. I don't really know why, it's just how it is. StarCraft is a stressful game. So in a weird reversal here, Xeminus is going to be playing Protoss and has got the double gateway at the front door. Xeminus knows, of course, that Icredd is a Zerg, but Icredd does not yet know that Xeminus is playing as Protoss. So I don't actually need the nim badges, do I? I've got my normal sort of replay GUI back. So we've got a pretty standard opening here from Icredd. We've got the hatch built in, we've got the pool, we've got the gas coming. All looks pretty straight up. Doesn't look like, and in fact the gas went down after the pool. So normally if you go gas after pool, you're going to get a quick third. That would generally be the case. You got that little bit more minerals because your gas is slightly later, so you've been mining minerals for that little bit longer before you put 3 in gas. Does mean that when this finishes up, which tends to be somewhere similar to this finishing up, you've got enough sort of money behind you that you can get your queen's build in, you can send a worker down to the third, and you can start the third pretty much straight away as well. No, oh, here goes the worker now. So yeah, looks like maybe that is going to be what is happening here. This worker's on an attack move and is actually just going to chase the drone around. I don't mind chasing a Protoss drone. There are a couple of lings out now, so surely they can see this off, because what you don't want it doing is dropping something sneaky. So I never mind that, but does need to get that third down as a matter of urgency. 2 minutes 40. You want to be seeing that third base. In Protoss land, it is double gas. The Nexus is coming down. We don't have no speed for lings in production, and no warp kit in production either. So I think the nerves are getting to these guys. This is like, these are your bread and butter, just straight up things that you always get. You never don't get those things, so that's kind of interesting to see. The sentry here is going to tickle this overlord, but very unlikely to kill it. Even at the speed overlords go, sentries are pretty feeble. So arguably you could have sent the overlord into the base and across this path, and probably because the sentry can't continuously shoot, it can't shoot while it's moving, a strong chance that the overlord would have made it out the back to this area and got a reasonable scout off. But with that said, I think Icredd probably sees everything he needs to, but hasn't seen this Stargate. So yeah, arguably going a bit deeper with the overlord wouldn't have been a bad plan. 4 minutes, still no third, and that is actually worrying me now a little bit. These lings parked at the front, not up to much. There are going to be roaches, and I just wonder, yeah, I think this is beginning to look suspicious. There's a +1 missile attack, speed finally building. A bit of a weird timing for that, because you're transitioning to the roaches with +1. You know, if you've left it this long, arguably you don't need it. But I think what's happened there is Icredd's just missed it. He's just forgotten it. As I say, it's a stressful game. You forget things. And I think that's what's occurred. So he suddenly realized he doesn't have speed. He's moved the lings and went, what? I didn't get speed. So Oracle is going to come in here. Let's see if it can get anything done at all. You know, when you're against Zerg, the problem is there will be a queen. And if you're not careful, the queen will sort of soak up all the fire from that Oracle. But the Oracle is doing quite nicely, if you don't mind. 6 workers is none too shabby. So in the worker supply, look at the difference that's made now. You know, Xeminus was ahead in workers, which when you're even in bases is easy to do as Protoss because you can chrono them out and you don't have to spend those, you know, the Zerg has to use some larva for an army. So well ahead on workers now, especially with that damage done. But the army supply is very, very different. Now some of that is probably in production. Yeah. 3 roaches in production, so some of that's in production. Bear in mind your supply includes things that are being built. So if you've got like a robo or one of these starport, stargate, barracks, whatever, it doesn't include things in the queue, but it includes the things that are currently being built. So when the Zerg has got like all these eggs kind of hatching, that bites into the army and counts as army supply if they're fighting units. So it's not all on the map yet, but nevertheless, there is a big army advantage at present for Icredd. But no, the location of this is hoping to catch a big worker transfer. That is a pretty common thing to do before the creep spreads. You drop this because the creep will see it while it's being dropped, but it won't see it once it's kind of there. So what you're hoping is that they suddenly, because quite often people drop the 3rd and they'll already be oversaturated. So they'll have like 24 workers maybe, and 24 workers here, and they'll grab a whole bunch of those workers and transfer them to this base to mine, and you're hoping to catch them with the time bomb. As it's turned out, it's a bunch of lings he's caught, and that's not particularly useful. These lings, I don't think were on their way to anywhere important. So the time bomb doesn't get too much done on this occasion. It is a big robo play actually coming out of Xeminus, and if we look, we've got War Prism, we've got Immortals building, there is the robo bay, the support bay coming as well, so that is going to allow things like disruptors, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see Xeminus crack out some sort of disruptor drop. But will she get a chance to do that? Because this move out could be damaging. There is a pretty serious army deficit here, and that is a fair amount of roaches. +1, I believe, is done. Yeah, +1 attack is done. Look, these are hallucinations. Those are hallucinated. That is hilarious. So if I just click, that's so funny. If I click one of these guys, these War Prisms aren't real at all. So Icredd's going to very quickly work that out, but that is amazing. That army was twice the size of anything that Xeminus had, and the hallucinated War Prisms have pulled that whole army back. Icredd has been psyched out by these prisms. This one is a real prism, doesn't have anything in it. I was kind of hoping to see some of that sort of immortal juggling that Xeminus was famous for when playing in the EMS league. But we could be seeing a big warping of something fairly soon. So I'm a little bit yeah, man, these players are both slightly on edge. You just see, like, you know, you see 4 warp prisms like that. Nobody builds 4 warp prisms. Those got to be hallucinated. So an interesting choice to hallucinate warp prisms. I can well imagine hallucinating 1 and deliberately making it seen so that you fake out a drop or you fake out a big warping or something like that. Meanwhile, the real one goes around the other side. I like it. I like the play. I'm slightly surprised that Icredd fell for it. So the Colossus just goes to town on the lings and absolutely wrecks. These can actually do quite well against the roaches, believe it or not. Oracles can do pretty well because they ignore armor. So it is going to be a hold, and the disruptor does come out. So Icy Red turns back, decides can't break that. Now there was no shield batteries here, and I don't know about that. I think maybe Xeminus thought there was something burrowed, perhaps. No shield batteries here, so I don't know, you could have forced the issue a little bit. Obviously the Lings were melting very quickly against the Colossus, a bit of a mistiming with stuff not all turning up at once. Only 2 Ravagers in the mix, arguably with more Ravagers. Some corrosive biles coming down on this because the Protoss army was very choked in here, and definitely that fight could have come out on top for Icy Red. Continues to have a pretty substantial army supply lead, and is now back in front with workers as well. So the hallucinated Phoenix comes in, just has a little look around. In general, if you've got detection, you can see the difference between a Protoss hallucination and a normal unit. If you don't, you can tell the difference because the hallucinations are very weak. So an actual, one of the hallucinated warp prisms went down from sort of 2 or 3 shots from a queen. It takes a queen a long time to kill a real warp prism. So you can kind of, if it dies really quickly, you can tell sort of retrospectively that it was indeed a hallucination. So, yeah, creep spread is beginning to look pretty reasonable for Icy Red. As a top tip to creep spread, if you have several, the more tumors you have, the quicker it spreads from them. So if rather than like 1 at a time spreads very slowly, if you can get like 3 together and just drop 3, the creep spread's actually twice as fast. So yeah, always worth having a couple of queens out on the creep, just dedicated to dropping tumors, so that you can really blitz those. If you need to just connect the base, you can just blitz down 5 tumors at a time, and the creep will spread really, really quickly then. There's some of the pro players that are just like godlike at spreading creep. Scarlet was always amazing at spreading creep. She was terrifying. You just get to points where like her creep would literally be in the opponent's base and you'd be like, how have you done that, Scarlet? I don't know that this can warp in that location. So I think, can do just enough. So DTs are here, but there is mobile detection for Icy Red. So the DTs are definitely going to trim down quite a few workers before anything can come here and kill them. The Queen's going to fall, and it is actually in the end only about 4 workers lost. The DTs will continue to trade against these Lings and stuff, and Xeminus just choosing to turn it into an Archon. I just assumed that was to buy time so that there would be a warp in over here, but we haven't seen that warp in just yet. So a big army now for Icy Red, and is kind of approaching maxed out. So I'd like to see a move out here. I'd like to see a little bit more action around the map, a little bit more mobility. The Protoss still on 2 base, not feeling comfortable to come out and take a 3rd. So generally when you move out is the time to drop stuff, because you're coming out for a poke. These armies are going to miss each other as Xeminus attacks off creep. So this base is going to fall before the Zerg army can even get back there, I would have thought. There are disruptors here and they can be devastating. Although all of the shots coming out simultaneously like that means that there are now none left. Colossus trade really well against Hydras. It is a big recall, and I'm not sure about that. There were so many Colossus here, and with the disruptors as well. I think that Protoss army just wins if it stands and fights. There was, all the roaches were gone, so it was only Hydras, and Colossus do so well against Hydras. But the big question was, and I didn't have the production tab open, how much was building during that? Because that is always one of the key things, when you trade armies is who was just watching the army fight and who was building a replacement before the old one was even dead. And when you're Zerg, that is easier to do because you've got all your hatcheries hotkeyed, and you can just be cranking stuff out. So Xeminus gets a lot of the Colossus out. Let's just take a quick look at what has died on this map. Yeah, that is a lot of units killed. So it is a big imbalance in terms of that, but it is nevertheless Icredd who's well ahead here. What is that that's dying over here? Was it the Warp Prism or was it a hallucination? Oh, it's a couple of DTs. They're going to die pretty quickly as soon as the detection arrives. So I believe Xeminus has seen these lurkers, knows that they are in the game, and knows that you know, she's going to need some sort of detection for that. But I don't know if there is an observer on this map. There isn't at present, and that is playing with fire. So I like this. I like this a great deal. Just the little warping of zealots are just going to be able to focus this. Oh, the queens! Full energy queens could have got a transfuse off on that and saved it, but didn't manage to do that in time. So the lurker down actually goes down, but there are a few lurkers on the map. I'd love to see this Nidus worm be used, you know, an overlord in here, Nidus, a couple of lurkers out in the mix. Devastating, that could be absolutely devastating. So yeah, I'd like to see more action out on this map, really. Once again, Icredd is going to come up here and have a poke. You know, surely a third base, like these bases are on, this base is essentially mined out. And I don't know, I think this just looks ominous for Xeminus, because I just don't think Zemi can actually come out onto the map. These lings, you know, that's what the Nidus worm's for. Those lings in the main base can be wreaking havoc against that many Colossus. They're just not doing anything. They're barely even soaking up fire. So yeah, no more lings really required. Now there is an ultra cavern coming down, and you know, just in general, our Zerg is so established on the map now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases. This base was lost. I'd like to see it taken again. I'd like to see the creeps bed continue a little bit more width in that. Let's have a peek at the upgrades. So +3 missile attack. That is Hydra range, I think, or Hydra spines. That's lurker range. Ling speed. Roach speed. So we've got roach speed, Hydra speed, Hydra range, and those. I think that's what that is. Not sure. Anyway, it's also +3 attack for the Protoss. Why am I looking at an empty bit of map here? But, you know, Protoss is mined out. Protoss absolutely has to get out here and take some bases, and ideally clean up some of this creep as well. But, you know, Zemi seems to have stalled a little bit. There was some harass going on earlier that has obviously slowed the Zerg down, but hasn't, you know, absolutely debilitated the Zerg. So there's still an army supply lead here. I feel like as soon as this mothership comes out, we're going to see the move out from Zemi. And this could be a difficult army to fight, but is there enough to snipe the detection? There isn't. There's nothing here that shoots up, nothing. So the Zerg detection will go essentially uncontested, and here is that Zerg detection. You know, and there's lots of it. There are a lot of overseers with this army. So I kind of feel like the Zerg army at the minute wins, because the burrowed lurkers can really go to town. However, the one, you know, what do you build against lurkers as Protoss? You build these, you build disruptors, so that you can just fire out those purification novas and just wreck. So yeah, 2 workers coming across here. You know, this, like, look how lit we are, and there's no third. This is, I'm not sure why there hasn't been a third yet. Do I not have sound? I don't know. I don't seem to have like much in the way of sound. Anyway, or music for that matter. Maybe it's just me. Maybe OBS is picking it up, but I just can't hear it. So it's a double expo. There is about to be some sort of mighty fight here. So let's see what happens. The Lings are going to come in and engage. The Colossus are going to do all sorts of damage to that. There is plenty of detection here. There are Ultralisks in the mix as well. I didn't see any Lurkers get burrowed, and I'm not sure why, because those Lurkers can just change a fight so radically. It's untrue. There aren't enough of them though, only 2. The Lurker Den never got rebuilt. There's 2 other Lurkers at home, and I'd like to see them with this army. You know, about 6 Lurkers is kind of the sweet spot for just wrecking anything that comes near you. So Icredd has the grit advantage here, that there are enough hatcheries that he can just remax really, really quickly. And I'm not sure, well, you know, I don't think Lings are the right choice. I mean, this many Colossus, I just, not Lings. You've got gas in the bank, so you know, Ultralisks certainly, Lurkers definitely. Lings, you know, Lings are just going to evaporate here. I don't know about coming through the choke like that, but yes, an engagement is required. A couple of storms come down, don't quite connect with anything. So these Lings, I'd much prefer to see them backstabbing rather than being with the main army. They're not going to achieve anything against this composition at all. So I don't know about that. Let's have a look at the upgrades. I don't believe there is a hive, but I don't believe the Lings have got adrenal glands yet. So adrenal glands, is that adrenal glands? Yeah, maybe it is. No, it isn't, is it? So no adrenal glands for these Lings, so they're not cracklings. So, you know, they're just kind of pointless. There's no bending speed either, and bendings could be effective here. Another storm doesn't connect, and I'd like, you know, these disruptors haven't really done much yet, but disruptors can just be so painful to play against. It's unbelievable. Right, come on guys, get involved in a fight, because I need to go to bed. It's past my bedtime. This is more like it, you know, this is what the Lings are for. They're for running about the map, denying expands, you know, in mineral lines, putting hurt on, not in that head-to-head fight. These Ultralisks are for the head-to-head fight. So it's, you know, look at the supply advantage here for Icredd. Icredd can end this game. Just has to get the composition and the engagement right. Doesn't want to be fighting into a choke. So I'd like to see Icredd destroying all these destructible rocks that are on the map in different locations to free up the angles that he can attack from. Because you don't want to be trying to get through a choke against Colossus that do splash damage. And indeed, I'm not sure about that storm. You know, there was no need to storm the workers. So big storm on the Hydras and no movement from Icredd. So the Hydras soak up a lot of hurt there. But I'd be inclined to force the issue. You know, I think you just go for this and you trade, because you can remax so quickly, and you know that your opponent can't. You know they were stuck on 2 bases for a really long time. But now that the disruptors have fired, is the time to attack this, because the disruptors will have to recharge for a long while. Storms are painful, but you know, there just isn't enough Protoss here to fight this. In production, there's only Lings, and I don't know why. Why isn't there Ultras in production? So it's a big recall, and felt like a win for the Protoss, but you know, I think Icredd just has to be more decisive. Just push this in and stop building those Lings, or at least if you are going to be building the Lings, get the adrenal glands upgrade for them so that they are devastating, because you know the damage output from a lot of Lings with adrenal and 3/3 is pretty brutal. So you know, Icredd now is going to take this fight, but you know, this is a much more unpleasant scenario to be coming at, but there isn't really much left for the Protoss at all. So this, you know, small band has to wait for the disruptors to recharge to be able to do anything really. I'm not sure that there's anything in production. There's no gas left for Xeminus at all. Oh, on the ramp, oh, that is absolutely brutal. So huge chunk of the Zerg army goes down, a massive chunk, and there's very little left. But what's in production? No units. Icredd, where are the units? So now chasing Colossus through the main base. If these lurkers burrow, surely it's over. You know, this one disruptor potentially can get a shot on the 2 of these. even without seeing it. But you know, the Lings are going to come in and surround, and I think that is going to be game. So Xeminus just, you know, didn't expand it quickly enough to, and ultimately was gas starved in the end. Icredd, yeah, the insistence on having the Lings in the mix against that Colossus heavy composition, and a little bit of indecisiveness really, because there was definitely opportunity to close out the game earlier. I think we are going to see a GG shortly, because I don't think there's any way back for Xeminus. I know the mothership is over here doing some business, but you know, it doesn't really have any support whatsoever. So Lings in production, still with the Lings. There's a spire here, you know, why not get some Mutalisks out? They're fast, they can fly around the map. Look, this mothership has 1 health. That's how close it got to dying. 1 health. So this mothership on its own is just, it isn't going to be able to clean stuff up. I'm not really sure why we're still in the game, but Xeminus has now finally got expands everywhere. You know, so if you're Icredd, you just need to be chasing these down, and this is where the Cracklings come into their own. They can be just chasing stuff down around the map, and finish this out fairly quickly. Seriously, all this gas in the bank, you know, basically 1 corruptor. These queens even can have a go at this, and do pretty well. You know, there's workers here not mining gas. If gas is what you need, get involved. But it doesn't really matter. There is the GG. That was a battle royale.